As Jane said, we do have an awful lot of careers, information and resources and products that are all free to anyone who would like to use them. At the back of the room, we have a large blue book known as our Big Blue Bible, and in there, everything that is on, Sarah is modelling it very beautifully, in there is every resource that we have on our website. There is a printed copy in there. If at any point you'd like to have a flick through them, please do. Also, pretty much everything I'm going to talk to you about has a leaflet or some information about it. There are some on the tables, but there are spare copies at the back of the room if you would like to take any more with you. If you'd like us to send you some out to schools, colleges, again, let us know. We're more than happy to send out leaflets, posters, any of the information that you see here today. So can I, by a show of hands, see how many of you have used AutoCity before? That's positive, right. So AutoCity is our careers website, as you all know. It started out with a relatively humble origin of showcasing different job roles within the sector. Since then, it has not stopped growing, and within the last 18 months, a lot that is new has appeared on there. As you can see from this rather large diagram here, AutoCity itself has got the job roles in the world of work, that are videos of people who actually do the job talking about it, information about salary, work environment, what skills and qualities you need to get into the role. We do have some extra bits coming on there as well. We have news and events on there. It's the portal for our Skill Auto competitions page, forums for people to chat, discuss, contact us, and information on apprenticeships. So this is the world of work. As you see, we've split it into subsectors. It breaks down quite nicely into, within those sectors, workshop, office, management, but it also tries to demonstrate links between, say, a parts manager and a fleet manager, maybe very, very similar skills and attributes. And what you don't see is behind the scenes in each of those job roles, they're weighted on the units needed to build the qualification on the National Occupational Standards. So it displays roles that are similar in the qualifications and attributes that you would need to do that role, to suggest if you like that role or you're looking at that role, this one's very similar as well, although it may actually sit in a different subsector. AutoCity is the home to our two communities, First Gear and Accelerate. Some of you might be familiar with these. First Gear is our free online community for 13 to 16-year-olds. It's aimed at anyone with the slightest interest in anything automotive. They can come on, they can join. There's news, events, there's a lot of careers information, advice about apprenticeships on there. There's an Ask the Expert function, but we do a lot of competitions and prizes and days out that make it more interesting and help them to engage with people who currently work in the sector. Accelerate is for 16 to 24-year-olds who are in training to go into the industry in one form or another. That does cost £10 a year, but for that we have sorted out a lot of discounts with tools companies such as Worth and Morelli, with equipment manufacturers and clothing suppliers, so safety gear, safety boots, thermal clothing, which if you work in a garage in winter, you will know how important that can be. We do a lot in the way for the Accelerate guys as well to get them out and meet people in industry so they can go to our member association events. This, from a young person's perspective, some of them realise, some of them might not, can be very, very important, because the people you're meeting are the managers, the directors, the decision makers of companies in your local area. If you then at some point decide to go for a job with one of those companies, you're not a nameless, faceless CV. That's so-and-so, he goes to the member association events. I'm not saying it's going to guarantee them a job, but it might help you find out about opportunities or present yourself to people that may help you in your future. From some of the pictures you can see they've had great days. We've taken a group of Accelerate guys to a Ron Haslam bike day at Silverstone that they thoroughly enjoyed. Nobody fell off, which was great. We do an awful lot with Santa Pod and with the drag racing community. We get them involved there. They can go and talk to the pit crews and the teams. Half price run what you brung days, always popular. You see things go down a track that were never built to go down a track. I think a Renault Espace is my personal favourite to date. Tools, prize giveaways, merchandise. This season we are lucky enough to be giving away tickets to every round of British Superbikes for the year. So that's quite a nice thing for them as well. But again, all aimed about just keeping the enthusiasm up, keeping them interested in the industry and reminding them why they were attracted to it in the first place. Any questions on that section before I move on?
How many have you got? The 16 to 24 is Accelerate?
Accelerate is a 16 to 24.
Signed up and paid the £10?
We've got about 1,000 on there at the moment. It did go up to near 1,500, but we've taken a hit because it's just come up to renewal time. So we're just starting to get some renewals in.
Because on the West Suffolk College, I manage all the urban engineering. We've got a large amount of students. I get a little bit of information about this. How would you propose publicising it even more so the students know? Because 1,000, there's not many.
It's not.
I think we've probably got about 300 ourselves. That's one college.
Yeah.
How do you publicise that more and encourage young people to spend £10 as well?
That's the key, trying to make young people part with £10. We realise this can be challenging. We've promoted to an awful lot of students. Some take it up, some don't. We do have a team that can come out and present classes within your college if that is something that you would like. One thing we are going to be picking up on at the end of the day in the focus groups is we would very much like colleges and employers to build this fee into the registration fee at the beginning of a new intake for apprentices. What we want to know is what would you want to see in Accelerate that would make you as a college or a business think that's really worthwhile for us, for our students, for our apprentices. So that is something we're going to come back to at the end of the day, but we do recognise the challenge. Different areas of the country as well, you find you get very different uptake depending on how economically sound the area is at the moment. But £10 to some students is an awful lot of money, and we won't get them to part with it no matter how good it is. In Wales, we're quite fortunate. The Welsh Government, through their Pathway to Apprenticeship scheme, are paying for nearly 200 students that are on that scheme to join Accelerate. We've just been round and signed them up. I don't think we're going to get something similar in England, unfortunately, but we are looking for initiatives all the time. But I'll be interested to see if we can come up with anything later to promote that idea.
Sorry, the 13 to 16-year-olds first year, wasn't it?
Yes.
And they would need to go online and register themselves. Is there a way as a college we could automatically register everybody that was within that age group?
Yes, we do a group registration document. So the main information we just need is a name, date of birth and email address and which school or college that they're affiliated with. But we can send you, it's basically an Excel sheet to drop the information into, send it back to us, and then we can manually group register them. We do that quite a lot.
It's more likely that we can get them all to be registered than if we're actually doing it.
Yeah. No, that would be fantastic, definitely. Any other questions on those areas of Auto City?
Can you just say a bit more about the first gear?
First gear, what it is, the orange, first gear is all printed in orange leaflets on the tables. So for 13 to 16-year-olds who might have an interest in cars or bikes or anything to do with the industry, it's all built online on the website, and it's really designed to give them information, advice, news about the industry, signposts to how they can find out about different jobs. We have an awful lot about apprenticeships and apprenticeship vacancies on there. Also the application process for an apprenticeship, because we find an awful lot of young people might like to do an apprenticeship, but depending on what school they're at or if they have a careers advisor, that idea of I'd like to do one but I have no idea where I go, who I talk to, what I do, is quite widespread. So we do encourage them to come and talk to us or email us. The forum's there to give them sort of an anonymous area where they can ask questions if they don't want to actually pick up the phone or email. But again, we very much like to try and advise them, signpost them to where they can find courses, where they can apply for apprenticeships, but also do the fun bits, the competitions, the giveaways, and the Ask the Expert function on there as well. So they can go on and ask really any question they like about the industry. We won't tell them how to change spark plugs in a Fiesta, because then we'd be liable if they got it wrong. But if they want to go on and ask, how do I become a sales manager, how do I get into doing this, we can go out to our panel of experts. We have a couple here at BMW, a Jaguar Land Rover, a few different colleges. We'll put the question out to them, and then we will post all of the replies, not just the one we like best, so they get a whole picture.
Registered with this first gear?
Yeah, it is free. It's very easy to sign up. It is just a name, a password, an email address, and the date of birth and school, and then it registers. If they want to put more details such as their address in, they can, but they don't have to, and it's all data protected. Yeah.
Emily, the vacancies for apprenticeships that you have on the site,
Yes.
are they also all on the National Apprenticeship site?
No. The National Apprenticeship Service lists an awful lot of apprenticeship vacancies, but by no means all of them. Mercedes-Benz do recruit through there, but there are an awful lot of vehicle manufacturer training academies that do not use the National Apprenticeship Service. We have vacancies on our site that aren't on the National Apprenticeship Service, we know that for a fact. But we also have, I will come on to it in a bit, a document, excuse me, that explains to people that the National Apprenticeship Service, while is a very good and useful tool, is not the be-all and end-all when it comes to applying for an apprenticeship. There are a lot of companies that will not advertise on that public forum because they get inundated. Mercedes-Benz received over 12,000 applications for 180 apprentices last year through the National Apprenticeship Service. That's an awful lot of CVs to go through. They didn't fill their 180 vacancies because the calibre wasn't good enough. They only filled 160. So while the National Apprenticeship Service is well known and it's a high volume, it's not necessarily given the quality that they want, and they find through advertising their own websites and different channels that they're picking up young people, trainees, that are of a higher calibre, that is what they're looking for. Others? Right, I'll move on to Hubcap, which is the main reason we're here today. The lovely new branding behind me that we can see. Hubcap is the hub for careers and academic professionals. See what we did there? It's an area for teachers, career practitioners, tutors, lecturers, and the whole point of it is for us to put resources on there. You can download, print off, photocopy, tweak a bit if you want, and really just use from individual lesson plans to projects that could take an entire term. The industry as a whole is at the forefront of modern technology, and it is quite a demanding environment for those who want to work in the retail or sales sides. But because it covers so many areas and job roles, there really is something in it for everyone. Whether you are technical and you really want to get to grips with newer, older vehicles, heavy vehicles, the newest DAF trucks that I was seeing the other week are really impressive when it comes to the size of everything on them. I mean, you think it's bigger, you don't quite realise how much bigger it is. Diagnostics, IT ability, maths ability is becoming a lot more prevalent. A few of the training academies are now asking for physics at grade A to C at GCSE because they need that kind of ability to apply the learning. It's not as straightforward as, oh, I didn't do very well at my GCSEs, I'll go be a mechanic. Does not work like that anymore. And that's a perception of the industry we're working very, very hard to change. A few facts and figures for you. UK Automotive is at the forefront of the low carbon agenda, and we invest more in research and development and new technologies that will deliver cleaner, safer and more fuel efficient cars. A modern car holds more computers than the Apollo spaceship took to the moon. That is a fact. The latest smartphones that are going to be coming out later this year, next year, probably hold more computing power than that took the Apollo spaceship to the moon. But what is in cars now is quite unbelievable when you look at it from computer power and a computer diagnostics point of view. I will leave the guys at BMW, who I'm sure will cover this slightly, but it is rather scary. And for those who say women have no place in the motor industry, the windscreen wiper, the spark plug, the clutch and the carburettor were all invented by women. So the brake disc as well, I learnt the other day, also was invented by a lady. So you see, men invent the turbos, we invent the brakes. There's a logic there. Coming on to the apprenticeships route, as Jane mentioned, the apprenticeships in a variety of different subjects and also degrees in which you can get into the sector through. Gaining entry, this is an area a lot of young people, it's by far the most common question that we get asked in the careers department. How do I get an apprenticeship? Where do I go? Where do I look? There is no official minimum baseline for entry into an apprenticeship. Some companies will ask for 5 GCSEs at grade A to C. Some will specify maths, English, a science, maybe a technology. It does vary from employer to employer and from college to college. What is clear across the board from talking to industry is that if you have a young person that doesn't quite have the grades, but they have the passion and the enthusiasm and they really want it, 9 out of 10 will give them a chance because they want that drive, that enthusiasm, that real, hang on a minute, why haven't we tried doing it like this? The person that's going to give them those ideas. Again, those are just some of the areas that we cover on Auto City. I'll come onto those in more detail. So this is the front page of Hubcap. You do have on your tables, that's an agenda, that's not what I'm looking for, a couple of printouts that look like this that I'm coming on to. So on Hubcap, you can't see it on here, but this is an index of nearly all the resources on there. As I said, they are all in the big blue book at the back of the room if you would like to have a look at any point. But the main aim of it is to give a resource, is to give teachers something that's straightforward to use, is fun, informative, and above all, actually gets the kids looking at and thinking about the motor industry as a possible career choice. You do have a copy of this one, the Dragon's Den activity, on your tables. This is quite a nice one, using the world of work on Auto City. Group the students into small teams of 3 or 4. 2 or 3 are dragons, and 1 is the presenter. There are then people profiles, that tell you a bit about the person, what they like, what they don't like, their hobbies. And from this profile, your presenter needs to go away, have a look on Auto City, have a look at some different jobs, and come up with a job that they think would fit that person based on their likes and dislikes and personality. They then have to pitch this to the dragons as why they should go for this kind of job. And the dragons, who will have done their own research, can then comment and rate them. It's a good format to get going in front of a class, and it's usually quite amusing to see it done in classrooms with some of the ideas that come out. That's a nice one lesson. There are several profiles, so it could be extended into a longer lesson. This is a copy of the labour market information that we produce. We do them for vehicle maintenance and repair, parts and sales, and we do them by region. So there's one for each county in England and also for Wales, Scotland and Northern Ireland. They are part funded through UK CES as well, and they were really responding to a demand from career practitioners who said they need 2 sides of paper with a bit about the job, what you need to do it, an expected salary, roughly what the employment in their area is for that kind of role, and how many apprentices managed to graduate within their area in that role last year. So we've tried to factor everything in, condense it and make it nice and straightforward so that it's there for people to use. This is one of the most popularly downloaded items off of Auto City. For anyone in the room that might be sitting there thinking, we've got a resource like that I'd like to promote, we will quite happily promote other people's resources as well. This one is done by a company called S&B, based in Bristol. They're a training centre, and it's a Jericho iCareer system that's actually won an international award. They offer this free to schools, and it's using virtual classroom technology. So a school can log on, they will send you out a camera and a kit. Excuse me. This is set up in a classroom. You link in with their workshop, and you can pick one of their apprentices, and they don't just do automotive, they do other disciplines as well. But your students, you can sit in a classroom, they can see an apprentice or someone who's recently graduated in the workshop they work in. There are wide-angle cameras that show the whole workshop. They can go in close up to the workbench if they're saying, what does that do? How does that work? They can show them, take it apart. And it's a real two-way thing, so the students can ask the apprentice questions, they can hear them and respond. And I was impressed when this was demonstrated because there is no lag, actually, in the communication. They also do a mentoring scheme for students who have very low attendance or who are at risk of becoming NEET, where they join them up with an apprentice, and the apprentice spends 10-15 minutes a week on this iCareers software, just having a chat with them. You know, how's your week been? Are there any subjects you're enjoying at the moment, any you're not? have you thought about what you're going to do after school? And it's statistically shown that it is improving the attendance records of the students that they've got enrolled on it. It's a fantastic programme. It's very easy to use and register if your school or college would like to, and all the information is up on Hubcap. If anyone here has something similar, we would be happy to promote this. We do it for free. We're trying to build a good bank of resources that cover the industry, so please do let me know.
Can I ask a question on that? Yes,
Certainly.
I like the idea of that. Are there any CRB implications on that? Depending on the age of the apprentice, obviously if you've got someone who's really young, they go on and interact on that. How do we know who's at the other end?
I believe it is video, and it is all vetted through it's set up through the teachers as well as S&B. I believe it's not done with young students. As far as I'm aware, it's GCSE age students. I would need to double check that, but that was my impression.
S&B that actually does, so we go on there, we can actually link up with S&B.
Yeah, it's done. Is it the Southwest
Bristol, isn't it?
Automotive Partnership?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's their group that do it. But on here there is a link. There's a download here, how to book the iCareers event, and that can take you to it. And there is an email address on there as well, at S&B, if you have any more questions. Best to direct any questions about that to S&B, who will know far more about it than I do. This document, that again, you do have a copy of this on your tables, is the most downloaded thing off of our entire AutoCity website. It took one of my colleagues quite a long time to pull all the information together, but I think it's been well worth it. It's got some generic information on awarding bodies, careers advice websites and centres, but the real goldmine on it is that for everyone that we could find, vehicle manufacturers, rental companies, parts companies, there are direct web links to their recruitment websites, and it tells you what apprenticeships they offer or what vacancies they recruit for. This is the kind of thing that if you were a young person trying to find an apprenticeship, you would probably be Googling Ford apprenticeships, BMW apprenticeships, Porsche apprenticeships. It takes a long time, and you have to fill in the form on each of the websites. This is everything all in one place, and it is proving to be extremely popular. Following on from that, you have a list by county of the local learning authority in the area, who will have lists, up-to-date lists of the local colleges, and where they are still available, the careers advisory boards for that area, connections if they still exist, that kind of thing, again with direct hyperlinks. This is a fantastic document really for us to give young people, careers advisors, teachers, anyone who needs a bit of advice or a bit of direction on where to look for apprenticeships or for information on them. We've got companies on there from large dealership groups to Ferrari, who may only recruit 6 apprentices a year, but who's to say that that student might not be one of those 6? I think it just gives them the best possible opportunity if they're not one of 12,000 going for one vacancy on the National Apprenticeship Service website. They might be one of 100 going for an apprenticeship with Unipart, for example, who are one of the few on here who offer a graduate programme as well, by the way. So that's a really useful document, and they're printed out. Again, there are more copies at the back of the room. Please feel free to take one with you. I'll run through these quite quickly because there are leaflets on your tables. Headlight. Has anyone had any experience with Headlight or Indicate, by a show of hands? A couple, not many. Headlight is a free teaching resource that we offer that covers a business and enterprise GCSE and BTEC curriculums. It is mapped UK-wide, and it is mapped into curriculum areas, so you can check off areas of GCSE against it. It covers ideas such as marketing, setting up a business, cash flow forecasting, these kind of ideas. There's a full teacher lesson plan folder and a full student workbook. That one obviously doesn't have the answers in it. So this would be a teacher guidance page, and then the student one would have the teacher guidance taken out. And we have boxes, forms for them to fill in, diagrams for them to complete, that kind of thing. Indicate is the same thing, but for Key Stage 3 maths. It can be extended to Key Stage 4 and also covers functional skills, which is actually where we believe it is being used widest at the moment, although a lot of secondary schools have taken it up this year. We are at about 230 secondary schools that have been using this resource in the last 12 months. This resource has been fantastic, because my aim when we sat down to create this was no student can sit in one of these lessons and say, why am I learning this? I'm never going to use it. Every one of these lessons is based in a real life situation within a subsector of the motor industry. This one is build a drag car. So each part that you need costs a certain amount, and you get a certain amount of points for it for using a high, medium or low part. You do not have enough money to buy all the high parts, and you do have to buy a parachute. They can't not buy one of them for safety reasons, clearly. But they have to work out, okay, well, if I get a high engine, maybe I get a medium body and I get low brakes. But they've got to get the maximum number of points by spending the minimum amount of money. So it's a nice and simple resource, it's a nice idea, it gets the students engaged and talking, but at the same time you are teaching key areas of the curriculum. Another comment we get an awful lot is mainly around parts apprentices, but it does apply to more than that. Students understand maths in a book. They understand how to calculate a percentage. If they go into an apprenticeship and they go into a workplace and the employer gives them a list of parts and with prices next to them and says, can you add VAT on them for me? They know how to do it, but it's linking the knowledge. They can't apply it to the real world environment. And that's where this comes in. It's kind of bringing the two parts together and linking them to make that knowledge more applied and more accessible for them and easier to transfer into a work environment. I'll just go back to Headlight. There is a related competition for this. The deadline is actually the end of this week. We've already got quite a number of entries in, but that is a marketing competition. Now, we don't want them to design a car exactly. We don't want them to spend hours drawing the body shape or anything. What we want is a concept for a car and an audience type. We want them to target an audience type, come up with a unique selling point for their vehicle. It doesn't have to be a car, it could be a motorbike, a lorry, a truck. I've had large recreational vehicles with supercars that slid onto them before. That was quite a nice entry. Last year we asked them to incorporate a piece of green technology into the design. Unfortunately, most of them just called their cars V12 hybrids, so it didn't quite work in the way we'd planned. This year we're asking them to incorporate a gadget or an app into the car, and they will get more points if they create a new gadget or app that they think isn't in a car that should be. So they come in, they're judged. Steve is kindly on our judging panel this year, as is Adrian Birch from Jaguar Land Rover, who are kindly sponsoring the competition for the third year running. And we have a long-term marketing executive on our judging board as well. The winning team and a teacher get a day out. They go to the Land Rover Heritage Museum, they have lunch at the Jaguar Land Rover Training Academy, and then they get a 4x4 off-road Land Rover experience in the afternoon, which I'm told is horrifying and wonderful at the same time. I haven't been. But it is a good competition. It is a really fantastic prize, and we do have a video showing it available on the website. Just you were asking, these are just screenshots. This is First Gear, so this is what their homepage looks like. And Accelerate. We at the IMI Careers team went through the Matrix accreditation earlier this year. It's a bit like Investors in People, but for careers information advice and guidance teams. Happily we passed, so we are now Matrix accredited, and as are all of our resources. So we're very, very proud of ourselves.